Commissioner Weber was talking about?
Thank you.
After item 7.
After item 7. I know the district attorney is here waiting on item number 7. And item number 7 is discussion and possible direction to staff regarding any action the board may wish to take in response to sections 1021 and 1022 of the National Defense Authorization Act. Commissioners will recall that this has been before you before at the request of a citizen. We drafted a resolution trying to meet the concerns of various folks who raised them, and that resolution was not satisfactory. We thought it would be best to get the item aired in its entirety, and then you can give us direction if you want about what the content of a resolution might be if the majority of the board wishes to do that. So we welcome your input. I know Mr. Gamick and potentially Assistant Sheriff Emerson are here from the Sheriff's Office if you have any questions of them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were proponents of this resolution. This is kind of unusual. I apologize who do not recall those gentlemen's names. Are there? Pardon me. Corbett. Is Mr. Corbett present? Is any proponent of this resolution under item 7 present? All right. Well, we have an interesting procedure here. Here are the choices that I see. We can have board discussion. We can go to public comment. We can go to the district attorney and the undersheriff. What procedure would you like, commissioners? And Commissioner Jung has a question or a statement.
I'm wondering, did staff notify the citizen activists that this would be discussed today?
It was requested, Mr. Chairman, for Commissioner Jung. I don't have the contact information for that person that was requested by you and Commissioner Weber when he was last here. And
staff did have the contact information.
Okay, I don't have that information. I'm sure someone did. He has been here twice, and we did, when he was last here, you did say you wanted it on the next agenda, and we got it on the next agenda, so apologies if we can certainly continue.
We can have a good discussion if the experts on the other side aren't in the room.
We can certainly continue it if you wish.
So noted. I think Commissioner Weber was next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought that the resolution that's in our packet was appropriate, but I agree with Commissioner Jung that it would be, if we're going to have conversation, appropriate for Mr. Corbett to be here. The staff report is very good. There's just one typo that I saw in the resolution that is before us, but the resolution, the reason why I didn't support the resolution at our last meeting was because I felt that it didn't say what was necessary or what was needed. And this resolution, I believe, is different than what was before us before. And this seems to make sense to me. But there is a typo in the 5th paragraph of our military to serve the people of this nation, without the S.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, Attachment A is the same resolution that you were provided previously.
Then the supporting information was not the same because it was very redundant before. No, and if our district attorney is here and wants to comment on it, I think we should hear from him.
Thank you. Commissioner Hartung.
I would concur with Commissioner Weber. I would like to hear from our DA on this. We have him here. Let's at least let him speak, and if we don't have to take action, then we can continue it. Thank you.
Any other questions, comment on the procedure? Hearing none. Just a procedural question. Our counsel is out outranking the district attorney in this matter?
No, sir. I was going to use the time that it took for him to get up here to ask a procedural question. There are actually two resolutions in the board's packet. One has been drafted by staff. It's 1 page long. I think it's the one that Commissioner Weber referred to, that needing a typographical correction. There's also another resolution which was the resolution drafted by the activist folks, and that's the resolution that those folks wanted the board to consider. So whichever one the board wants to entertain or whatever the board wants to do is up to the board. I just wanted to make sure that for the record we knew which resolution we were talking about and potentially considering acting on.
Thank you very much. That is very helpful.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Are we going to pull this item and repost it? Well, let me just make my comment, okay? I'll just make my comment. I have some concerns about the NDAA resolution because it's very extensive, and frankly, I haven't had the opportunity to read the U.S. Constitution and all of these articles to find out what they're referring to, and I would not be able to vote for that since I might not agree with them in that position. If we were going to support it, I don't have a problem with the resolution drafted by staff.
Commissioner Burke-Bigler, I agree. The NDAA resolution has a reference. Watch NDAA, weeds, etc. That's a tutorial video. Guess what? I ain't going to vote for a resolution of a video that I haven't seen, nor am I going to watch. I'm not going to do that. So, you know, it's kind of unusual resolution language. So how about if we hear from the district attorney? Do you want to do that? He took the trouble to come down here. Mr. Gamick. While he's approaching, can I inquire, is there public comment on this item?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Richard Gamick, Washoe County District Attorney. I'm going to start, make some brief comments here, and then Assistant Sheriff Emerson is also in the audience to make some comments concerning the sheriff's position. On page 4 of the resolution, at the top of the page, therefore it is resolved the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners reject all unconstitutional parts of the NDAA for fiscal year 2012. That's a premise that I'm going to suggest to this board is false. The laws are presumed valid if they're passed appropriately by a party that has the, or a board or a Congress, legislature, commission, or anyone else that has that jurisdiction to pass laws. They're presumed valid as they're passed. Only a court can make that decision that a law is unconstitutional, and I am unaware of any court having made that decision on any parts of the NDAA. So I'm going to come to this board and say it is presumed that this law is constitutional, and although citizens may be able to express their opinion that it's unconstitutional, they cannot make a binding ruling on anyone. So we start with a federal law that is constitutional. Secondly, the sheriff is an elected official, as you're well aware, in the state of Nevada, and as such, he makes all decisions concerning the sheriff's department, what they will and will not do, with the exception of budget, which is specifically reserved to the commission in the Nevada revised statutes. So I'm going to suggest that even if you were to adopt this proclamation the way it is worded, that their second thing, be it further resolved, would have no effect whatsoever on the sheriff, and he can still make the decisions that he wishes to make. And again, I'll defer to Assistant Sheriff, the title changes occasionally, Assistant Sheriff Emerson, to come down and go ahead and tell you the official position. My understanding of my conversations with the sheriff, he is also opposed to this. The third thing I wanted to bring up is this resolution urges, let's see here, from aiding, abetting, assisting, enforcing, and or any other way supporting any official employee or agent of the United States government. We have a very unique situation in Washoe County, and that is the collaboration and the cooperation between all law enforcement agencies in this county, federal, state, local, And we even have several agencies from California that come over and join us monthly for a breakfast that's made up of the heads of all these various agencies. Our collaboration and cooperation here is so extensive that when the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms main team, the same one that did the investigation in Oklahoma City of the bombing there, came to Reno to investigate the fire that we had downtown that burned down a hotel and killed 12 people. On his exit briefing, the head of that team stood up and said, you know, we go all over the world, and we investigate fires, and we work with law enforcement agencies all over the world. And we have yet to see the cooperation and collaboration that takes place and the extensiveness of that in Washoe County. We are completely impressed with the way you folks work. This proclamation says throw all that out the door and don't support them if they're enforcing these constitutional laws. So for all those reasons, I would urge you to not adopt this, to not even address it any further than is necessary legally, and to let these folks go to other areas that they do have available to them, and that is through the United States Congress or through the courts. I'll be glad to take any questions if you have them. If not, I'd ask you to let Assistant Sheriff Emerson address you.
Thank you very much. I believe there are some questions. Commissioner Jung.
Mr. DA, this resolution that was submitted and now is in the staff report, which is very unusual to me as well, was submitted by the activists. And staff was directed, if I believe correctly, to come to some sort of negotiation that would be amiable to you as a DA and to the Sheriff's Department if in any way you could incorporate it, because the citizen activists felt like this resolution that staff recommended basically doesn't say anything. And it is so watered down it's meaningless. So I think that we had a little bit of a communication problem here with how this was going to work out. I spoke directly with Mr. Liparelli, and he said, we'll figure it out. I believe you were going to sit down and meet with these citizens. I don't know if that's happened or not. That was what I had heard from staff. So I think that we are very premature in discussing this, and certainly was not the intention of this. Commissioner Weber's on this agenda item too, but that was not the intent for me. Mine was to figure out, is there something that we could do to symbolically support what it is that these citizens are concerned about? Frankly, I don't like the way this is written either. I can't direct any elected official to do anything or any other body to do anything. So I think there's been a huge misunderstanding, and I am very concerned that it doesn't feel like, and I don't believe it's nefarious or evil intention. I just feel like perhaps I wasn't very clear on what I was asking for and trying to communicate with staff.
Madam Manager wants to take that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to take full responsibility for that. We did not have direction from the majority of the board about what your intention was with the NDAA. We did not have direction from this board. We had direction from two commissioners that you wanted us to do something, but something is very hard for us to come up with without knowing what the majority position of the board is with regard to this. So I take full responsibility that you did not receive a conclusion. We wanted you to have the discussion. I have staff looking into the mechanics of somebody getting notified about this, but again, we provided you the information that was brought to you before so that you could have the discussion with people like the district attorney and the sheriff's office about what their concerns are.
Mr. Chair, if I may. It is my understanding that the proponents of this resolution were not the least bit happy with what was drafted by staff, and therefore what was to come back before you would be their actual document, and so that's what I'm here addressing today. As far as me being included in any proposal that goes contrary to federal law that's currently being enforced by federal agencies, I have not the least bit interested in joining that or supporting it. I support what the federal agencies are doing. I support the law. If I don't, then I go to my congressman and I talk to them about what the problems and the difficulties are with them. I'm not going to be a party to some kind of a different proposal or putting out some kind of position that is contrary to what's being done here, especially when you start talking about terrorism against this country, be it external or internal.
Anything further, Commissioner Jung?
I think that we need to continue this item. It doesn't necessarily even have to come back. If I don't want to do a resolution that doesn't do anything either. I mean, I'm sure you can understand what I'm saying here, and I certainly would never say that you should break the law, but I would like to have a further discussion with you or your staff on states' rights and even symbolic gestures that we could send to our congresspeople on behalf either individually or as a county of what those issues are. We do it all the time, symbolic resolutions, but I don't want to go sideways with you and the law and you know, not binding anybody. I just think that we had two very extreme positions on this, and I had hoped that we could come to something that you would be tenable for you and for the sheriff.
Commissioner Jung, I have no problems, no objection at all with the process of doing that, but I do for what is being done here today. I'd be glad to meet and discuss this with you at any time. That is not a problem, but I want to make sure that the record's real clear that I do not support what is being suggested here today. Either philosophically, I don't support the whole idea of even doing this, but I'll be glad to meet with you and talk with you because I always support the process and communications.
Thank you very much. And now our counsel, Mr. Luparelli, has a comment.
Mr. Chairman,
I may have more questions.
I want to make sure that that I've heard the board clearly, so that we can make sure we're using the board's time well. This is the second time this has been on here, and potentially a third time may be coming. So I want to make sure I understand. And I also want to inform the board that this has the potential to be very complex and very difficult. The National Defense Authorization Act is the act the Congress adopts every year for the entire Defense Department. It's everything involving the Defense Department. It's budgets, it's military bases, it's pay for soldiers and sailors, it's everything. A couple of provisions of the Defense Authorization Act from the last Congress were an amplification of the authorization for use of military force, which was first enacted by Congress in September of 2001 after the Trade Center bombings. So authorization for use of military force has been the law of the United States ever since September 11th. This most recent iteration of the National Defense Authorization Act under the Obama administration sought to clarify and put more meat on the bones of the authorization for of use of military force. And there have been many litigations involving the underlying authorization. Many of the detainees at Guantanamo Bay have obtained counsel. They've proceeded under habeas corpus to challenge their incarceration. Lots and lots of litigation, all of which ultimately upholds the authority of the President and the military forces to detain these people. There is a case from the Southern District of New York Federal Court that did find the Section 1021 of the NDAA unconstitutional on First Amendment grounds. But that is on appeal to the Second Circuit. The Second Circuit has stayed the effect of the federal judge's decision, and we will have a decision from a court of appeals as to the underlying constitutionality of the power that's given to the President under that law from the Second Circuit. So whether or not this county commission wants to weigh in on these federal issues is up to this board. There are many, many issues of national significance that the board may choose from time to time to make a statement about through a resolution. Our worry from your legal advisor's standpoint is what can we advise you can do that has any sort of legal import or any sort of binding legal effect. And Mr. Gammick's expressing concerns that he and I have discussed about whether the supremacy clause of the Constitution allows a local government to attempt to tell the federal government that its enactments are unconstitutional and won't be followed. We have concerns about whether you're potentially placing your sheriff or your DA in a position where he couldn't fulfill his obligations under agreements that he has with federal agencies to cooperate on law enforcement matters. So there's symbolic gestures and statement of policy, which we all concede is up to a majority of this board. But as you get further and further into the specifics, and especially including in the form that the PANDA folks forwarded to you, it does raise a lot of legal concerns for us. We don't advise that the adoption of the PANDA resolution is appropriate legally, but we're not meaning to tell you in saying that you can't urge Congress to repeal any federal law that you find repugnant. So I would benefit in advising you from knowing what a majority of the board wants to see on the next agenda, if anything, so that we can get the majority of the board what it wants to see.
Thank you. Now there is a question for counsel by Commissioner Jung.
Yeah, Mr. Leporelli, just so we're clear and the public is clear about this too, it's not just Guantanamo Bay that was changed in terms of the president putting more meat on this. Is it not true that it is under the what this law says, it's under the president's discretion to take any American citizen and detain them indefinitely if they are considered a threat to our nation?
Mr. Chairman?
Without trial and without a time limit. Actually could even execute them.
Is that a request for interpretation of federal law?
Well, he's interpreting it right here when he's telling us why. He gave us the history of this. I'd like to know if that, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to be argumentative or disrespectful. Clearly, I'm not a lawyer. But I think what's important is that we get the full story to this and why this has become an issue for many civil rights activists and people who believe that our Constitution is inalienable.
Mr. Chairman, I think I can respond fairly briefly, but with the caveat that I am a lawyer, so, you know, that's relative. Judge Forrest of the federal court spent a lot of time analyzing the point that Commissioner Jung is raising, which is the original authorization for use of military force from 2001 happened the same month that the Trade Center bombings took place. And so it got in place right away, and it's been the law for all those years. Throughout that period of time, there have been a lot of folks who have expressed concerns about the appropriateness of the scope of that power. So this version of the National Defense Authorization Act did go into more detail about what the President's powers were, and it affirmed the use of military force, but it defined covered persons. And it said to be a person covered by this act, you have to be a member of, a part of, Al-Qaeda or associated force that acts in conjunction with or pursuant to the direction of Al-Qaeda, and to have participated in the course of planning or carrying out an attack or attempted attack against the United States or its coalition partners. And so to be covered by the act, you have to fall into those categories. Now, opponents of this section of the NNDA point out that there are arguments to be made about some of these terms, and particularly in section, I was reading from section 1022, but section 1021 has provisions in it that people are concerned about. A person who has substantially supported Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces. Well, they worry about, well, what are associated forces and what is substantial support? They worry about terms in the law like supported such hostilities in aid of enemy forces. So there are good faith arguments about the scope of these provisions. But what I'm, I guess, asking the board to tell us is how far into that do you want us to go in bringing you back a resolution that you want to use to make a statement about the propriety of all of this. If you want something that's close to the staff version of the resolution, I think it's pretty simple. If you want to get into the PANDA version of the resolution, we're going to have a lot of talking to do.
Thank you very much. Next, let's go to Commissioner Burke-Bigler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frankly, after hearing the DA's and the sheriff's opposition to doing anything with this, I think perhaps we should reconsider whether we even want to put this back on the agenda again. Secondly, I'm of the opinion that these resolutions really mean nothing to the federal government anyway. So they really don't care whether the counties and the cities around this nation oppose or accept what's going on. They have a different perspective than we have at our level. And so I would think it's not worthwhile for us to continue pursuing this.
Thank you. Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To echo Commissioner Burke-Bigler's sentiments and perhaps say it in a different way, I'm not sure whether it's in our purview to have a conversation of this nature. These are federal issues. They should be having conversations with our federal representatives. And so I think that I really think we're sort of barking down the wrong hole here. But that's just my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I think we just heard more information than we have in the last two meetings from our district attorney and our deputy district attorney. So I agree. I believe that originally this is not the same resolution that we've had before us in the past. This resolution for Washoe County. I don't believe we've seen that. The resolution that I saw at the last meeting, I felt had to have more information, and it was, I believed, redundant. So, anyway, that being said, if we need to have a motion so that it doesn't come back to us, I don't know what we do, because I don't believe we should carry on and take more time and effort for our staff to do something that, as the commissioners have said, we might be barking up the wrong tree.
That's a motion. I second it.
That is not a motion. It's not accepted. Let me try to say something on this issue. Resolutions are sort of like what Vice President said years ago. Being Vice President is worth a warm pitcher of spit. I think that's what the person said. I've heard different versions of that, what could be contained in the pitcher, and I won't go into any of those other versions. You're welcome. You know, I was at the Nevada legislature today and watched those folks operate in their infinite wisdom, and that's a body that they probably have they'll have 10 or 20 resolutions to the federal government this year. I've watched the debate on those, and it is sometimes silly what they can ask for. They have resolutions on public lands, the way the federal government should manage those lands, whether or not they should give them to the state of Nevada or give them to some private interest. They have a whole host of such resolutions. Some on national defense and other things. But the analysis is the same as been pointed out by Commissioner Burke-Bigler and by Commissioner Hartung, and I share it. The federal purview through the supremacy clause is clear. All you can say is in a resolution is, "Mother, may I? May I speak on this? Federal government, please don't do that." And that's what Mr. Liparelli has made the point of. Then I turn to what this commission, what we do need to do. And what we do need to do is decide land use issues such as how daggone many horses a man or a woman can have on their 35 acres in this county. And that's important. Or whether or not a certain project in the northern part of this county should change the master plan. And whether or not they should have the land use that a landowner wants there that is not currently permitted by law. That's important for this county. And that comes to our judgment as commissioners. And I would say that I've looked at this, I looked at the resolution, and frankly, when I read the actual words that the PANDA folks put out, this is scary. I said earlier, I'm not going to reference citizens in my district or this county to go to a video which I have not seen, and which, honestly, I am not going to see. You know, that's sort of ridiculous language to place in a resolution. And I'm glad that our staff put the resolution in there, and their somewhat milquetoast competing resolution is, you know, maybe it's going to get the attention of Congressman Amadei or Senator Heller. Maybe they'll take a look at it. And that's all you can ask. But again, we will have, I don't know how long we've been on this, but, and I'm trying to do this once and ask people to exercise judgment as commissioners, what is important to the county of Washoe, to the citizens of this state, and let's concentrate on those core issues that we need to concentrate upon. And I think we can do that. And I think we've talked long enough now that one of the proponents has shown up. So maybe we can go from there. I believe commissioners have all asked their questions of the district attorney, and there was a reference to Assistant Sheriff Emerson who wanted to say something. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, and for the record, Marshall Emerson, Assistant Sheriff, Washoe County Sheriff's Office Operations Bureau. And I stand before you today, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, on behalf of Sheriff Michael Haley, who sends regrets he could not be here today. He's attending a Department of Homeland Security meeting at this time. What I'm going to present to you today very much echoes the thoughts of the District Attorney, however, from the perspective of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and it's in the form of an executive brief directed to the Board of County Commissioners, which I'll provide a copy of this through the clerk's office to all of the members. And this deals, of course, with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office position on the National Defense Authorization Act, commonly referred to as the NDAA. And on behalf of Sheriff Haley, as the duly elected sheriff of Washoe County, I appreciate and respect the Board of County Commissioners' desire to engage and potentially adopt a resolution on this topic. However, any such position or resolution does not impose, guide, or direct the actions of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office as it applies to the NDAA. Our position related to this topic is predicated on the fact that a sheriff is neither a judge or a jury. The doctrine of judicial review is reserved for courts having jurisdiction over specific sets of laws and determining the constitutionality of such laws or acts. The Washoe County Sheriff is then obligated to carry out any such determination when ordered and directed to do so by said court of jurisdiction. The position is further supported by the fact that the Washoe County Sheriff believes in the rule of law, however does not make or interpret law. Additionally, we cannot predict the set of circumstances in which a United States citizen would be committed to our custody as an enemy combatant, to which any or all of the facts would be revealed to the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. As such, I cannot with an absolute degree of certainty say how I would react to such a detention. Such charges are federal in nature and again are subject to the review of a federal court of law having jurisdiction over such actions and detentions. The Washoe County Sheriff's Office cannot obstruct or prevent any federal law enforcement agency from carrying out its duly delegated functions within our jurisdiction, as we are not only sworn to enforce the law, but also to obey the law. Simply put, we do not have the luxury of picking and choosing what laws we enforce on our streets or what prisoners we accept into our detention facility. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to present our position related to this topic to this distinguished body. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for the Assistant Sheriff? It's very clear. Very clear. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we go on, are there any other Commissioner questions, comments? Madam Clerk, is there any public comment now on item 7?
Yes, there is.
Let's go to public comment.
Ted Levater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got to say I'm really disappointed to be here right now. I was in a meeting conducting my everyday business when I received a phone call at 11:15 stating that the County Commission was discussing the PANDA resolution. Nobody from the county contacted myself, Christopher Corbett, about the resolution being on today's agenda. You know, I find it really interesting that in the RGJ article from this Sunday that the County Commission was looking for ways to increase public participation. We've been here, we've spoken with you folks, we've given you the time you need to make a decision, and when you guys are ready to deliberate on that decision, nobody even makes a simple phone call or sends an email. So now here we are in this very difficult position. I didn't get to hear any of the comments that you guys made. I came in at the very end and now I'm expected to provide what? What can I provide to you right now? I haven't even had a chance to read the resolutions that you're looking at. What I would ask at this point, although I realize that the Chairman, you have concerns about how long you've already spent on this issue, is that you continue it one more time so that PANDA representatives can be prepared to be here to provide you with what our specific concerns are, and I will provide you with one. Right now, Mr. Corbett is down at the state legislature lobbying on behalf of BDR 728, the Nevada Liberty Preservation Act. The Nevada legislature thinks this issue is serious enough to take a look at it. The effect of a resolution from the Washoe County Commission could assist us in our effort to raise awareness of this issue and hopefully get it passed at the state level where it can have an effect on what the sheriff can and cannot do. Again, what I ask of you today, continue this issue so we can have the time to prepare a presentation and have an effect and participate. As you guys I keep hearing in newspaper reports and from yourselves that you want to increase public participation. Here's your chance. Continue this item. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any other person wishing to give public comment who has not signed in on this item? Item 7. All right, then we'll close public comment. Public comment is closed for today. You know, I think for the citizen, if we could have like a 30-second primer on the open meeting law. We provided notice of this meeting through an agenda. Sometimes staff is nice enough to call folks, but you know, we do as much of that as possible. Does anybody want that? Want a description of the open meeting law? No. That's why I said public comment is closed. Unless one of these commissioners calls you up for questions, you are done, sir. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did confirm with our staff that they did not notify Mr. Corbett, and they apologize for that. It was an oversight. They had been in conversation with Commissioner Jung. It was an absolute drop the ball, not knowing who was going to specifically invite someone. And again, the agenda was posted and was advised as of January 8th that you wanted to bring it back. But our apologies that phone call was not made, and I have asked staff that in the future be a procedure that staff takes responsibility for. But it was not done this time, and we apologize.
Madam Manager, my recollection of this, some of the history is here in the summary. My recollection is citizens came forward and said there ought to be a resolution on this NDAA stuff. And I said to myself, huh, what is that? And then later they came back, it was agendized, the resolution was presented, and the proponents said, that isn't what we had in mind at all, and requested that it be pulled. That brought us to today. Now we have some dispute over the construction and drafting of the staff report, and we have some vehement disagreement with entertaining this issue whatsoever from the district attorney and from the sheriff's office. That's interpretation to say it was vehement, strongly held beliefs. You know, my position without extending this further is that I think fairness would say our staff did not contact some of the proponents of the resolution. Perhaps we should continue this and go at it one last time, set it again, and if Commissioner Jung or anyone wants to discuss the drafting and construction of the staff report, I think they should do that offline with staff. Is that acceptable to everyone? Okay. Commissioner Jung.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sir, for coming down here, and sorry for the miscommunication. I think we all share a little bit of responsibility with that. But I don't believe that it would be fruitful at this time to continue this, because I don't think we're going to reach any sort of meaningful resolution vis-a-vis one in which our legal counsel will allow us to move forward with. He has offered to meet with me to discuss some of those issues, but I truly, and I don't think I'll get the support of the Commission up here at this point. I think this got a little out of control of two competing resolutions, and didn't have what I had anticipated would be the back and forth of some symbolism of the concerns that I do have as a citizen and a representative for my citizens in this county, and how you recognize, how is somebody even determined to be a combatant or enemy of the state. That does scare me, and I think there's a very famous president that said those who will give up their freedoms for security deserve neither. And I'm truly a believer in that and a constitutionalist. So I just think at this point continuing it, I mean, I guess we could continue it indefinitely if I thought that the DA was okay with it. Well, the DA has to be okay with it for it to come forward, and that it's fruitful for PANDA to spend the time on this as well. Maybe that would be the way, but I don't want to time certain it, and I certainly don't want to belabor something if we're not going to ever come to agreement or I can't get the support for. But we will, sir, I will look forward to speaking with you after this, and I think that we can figure out some other workarounds that I could help you with it. So thank you, Commissioners, for entertaining it. I appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. DA, and thank you, Mr. Sheriff. Sorry this kind of went sideways. It was never my intention to command and tell you how to do your job, as I would not like you to do that for me either. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weber.
Mr. Chairman, I just thank the Commissioner for her comments, and I appreciate it. If we did bring it back, I was supportive of that. But I think their time is better spent right now at the legislature or at the federal government level. But that's my opinion, and I will support the Commissioner in her work that she will do with the entities.
Thank you, Commissioner Harton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to the citizens saying that we're looking for more citizen participation, I think that comes to issues that are in our purview. I have citizens who call me up and say they're tired of the price of gas. It is not in my purview to discuss a worldwide commodity. And I realize that that's somewhat of a hyperbole, but I don't think that this is in our purview. So consequently, my personal opinion is to belabor this and have them come before us. Their time would be better spent at the legislature and talking to their federal representatives. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The gentleman has now left. I said before, out of a sense of fairness, both to the two commissioners who requested this item and then to the proponents who were not contacted on this issue only, I believe a motion to continue and hear this one more time when those people can be present would be appropriate. But my previous remarks stand about judgment of commissioners in requesting agenda items that are pertinent to the business of Washoe County. Those remarks stand. Is there a motion?
I'm not willing to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I will move specifically that this item be continued to a time after which staff can contact Mr. Leviter or the other gentleman named who was a proponent of this so-called NDAA or anti-NDAA resolution, so that we can properly hear this item. And further, that our staff discuss with commissioners the construction of a staff report that is more or less satisfactory to all parties. Period.
Are you looking for a second?
Hearing no second, then is there anything else on item 7? All right, let us move on.